is the contradiction. So this potential is causing frustration. Many people are waiting for the Mahdi. Some say the Mahdi is born. They know where he lives. They're waiting for something to happen. Okay? But the reality is we have to look at ourselves. We cannot wait for a pie in the sky, as they say. For something to come out of the sky when the potential is there. Look at the Japanese people. Did the Japanese people wait for somebody to repair their country? Did the Germans wait? No, they start working. Right? They start caring about each other. So in these verses that were read earlier tonight, in the beginning, very important verses in Surah Al-Hashr. And I won't go over the Arabic, but where Allah is saying, "O you who believe have the consciousness of Allah, right? Let every soul look to what is put forward for tomorrow, right? And observe your duty to Allah. Surely Allah is well aware of all that you do." Now here's the point. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُم. Do not be as those people who forgot Allah, He made them forget themselves. That's the key point. Because the potential then, you forget Allah, He will make you forget. You have all this money, and there are Muslims right across your border starving to death. But you forget. You're in a state of forgetfulness. Okay, so this gives you this analysis. And this is a divine formula. Start to look at some of the ayat that come to us. It's like a formula. Okay, so this one is saying taqwa, right? Taqwa Allah. And then look at the future. Remember the Creator? Look at the future. So that's projecting to the future, right? And fear Allah. It says, then it's repeated. What taqwa. Okay? Allah knows everything that you're doing. Then Allah said, don't be as those who forgot Allah, who make them forget themselves. So this is a formula for us in looking at this potential now. Because we need to try to unlock the potential. And this is the question that is being asked. This is what is happening, you see, in Egypt and in Tunisia, places like that where Muslims have overthrown a regime, and now they're sitting, they're struggling. Now, what are we going to do now? What direction are we going to go in? And this is critical because in the colonial period, we also overthrew some of the kings, but the people who came after the king was worse than the king. And some of the people wished the king would come back. That literally happened. At least the king would let you make salat. Let you practice Islam to a little bit. Just call him the king. Like, let him have his hand in the money. But other groups come along, worse than that. So what happens after the victory? What happens after the victory? This is the key point. After the victory comes, after the Russians are thrown out of Kabul, now what happens? Because we couldn't get it together. And so we fell into a worse situation. So this generation now that has the potential to make long-term changes has to now consider that balance. You know, how does the change come about? This is where in Surah Al-Ra'd, this is the key verse, part of the verse 11. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change that which is in themselves. No change. Your thobe can be long, your beard, your kufi can be that high. You can cover everything. You don't change. We don't change our hearts. That which is within us, then we cannot expect the help of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And we did not fall in this problem until we changed something inside of us. Right? When the tribalism comes in, and we will be studying this, inshallah, this weekend in detail. We will study about Al-Andalus. We will study about what happened in Spain. That is one of the best examples of the rise and fall of civilization. We will look at this in details. what happened to the Muslims. So the change comes from within. And it's really important for us. The heart is really important. This is a study that really requires a long period of time. But it's interesting to note, and scientists even have found, that when they study the heart, they have found that the heart is not just pumping blood. Before they said the human being is a brain and then a body, and the heart just pumps blood. But now they are showing that there's a connection between the heart and the brain. There are neurons, and many of the decisions that we make are actually made in the heart, not in the brain, because it's emotions. Your emotions are involved. And emotions are involved in many of the decisions. This is what is being used on the younger generation today. Emotion is being used. Go to the movies. When you look at the movie, and then you see a scene, and the sound is so loud. Okay? If you take that same movie, turn off the sound. And then just a man walking down the street looking at somebody. It's nothing. But you put the sound, and the drama is there. Fear is there. Happiness is there. Love is there. Hate is there. It's like your emotion. So they're playing on people's emotions. So the heart is a really crucial thing for us. The Prophet ﷺ, if you go back to your hadiths and your ayat, look at the word qalb and qulub. It's interesting. One time a person came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him about bir, righteousness. And the Prophet ﷺ answered him and said, Istafti qalb. Ask your heart. He didn't say ask your mind. He said ask your heart. When he's lining up people for salat, he's telling them shoulder to shoulder, right? So your hearts will not be divided. So your hearts will not be divided. Okay? So the heart really is like your conscience. The internal Muslim. That is crucial for us in bringing about change. Okay? How can we bring that change so we can benefit from our potential? But the heart has diseases. The great ulama have studied amrad al-qulub. And some of these diseases is pride, jealousy, uncontrolled anger, riyah, like doing things, showing off. Okay, what comes out of this also, especially pride, can come tribalism. Tribalism is killing us. It's destroying us. In our town, well, I was the imam of the Jami Mosque in Toronto from 1985 to 1990. We had everybody in the mosque. We had one of the most rapidly changing communities in the whole of North America. Everybody was in our house. All the madahib, all ethnic groups, Islamic movements, everybody's in it. Then time changed, the city expanded, some differences of opinion, and suddenly there's masjids all over the place. And when I went back, I realized that many of these masjids are ethnic-based masjids. I'm sorry to say this, but you will see a particular group of people in the mosque, and another group in another one. Whereas before, we were all together. How do we solve the problem? You can have a halaqah. Have a halaqah on Saturday, Sunday. Your ethnic group. No problem. You want to hear your language? You have something? No problem. Time for salat, shoulder to shoulder with everybody else. That's what Islam is supposed to do. To unite us. But when the tribe becomes the main goal, then it's a serious problem. So tribalism, which can lead to racism. Okay? And then greed. Greed can lead to the abuse of people. These are some issues which, inshallah, we'll have a chance in the future to go into in detail. I want to leave you in this particular lecture, which is the first of 2 tonight, with 7 points of change. Okay? How can we make some change within us? And of course, there are many points of change. This is my humble contribution in terms of some of the things that we can actually do now. Solve this. Okay? Number 1, an increase in taqwa. We have to strive for the consciousness of Allah. We have to pray for this. We have to, get up in the middle of the night. You have to give sadaqah when nobody's around you. Then give sadaqah. When nobody sees you giving it. You're only doing it for Allah. Start to do things only for Allah. Only Allah knows you did it. Right? Increase taqwa. That's really important because many of our problems, up until social problems, husband fighting wife, or whatever it is, if there was taqwa, they wouldn't do that. So taqwa is a very important element, as you know. On every Friday, the Imam is supposed to talk about it. 2, striving for proper knowledge of Islam from authentic sources. From authentic sources. For a long time, especially our generation before, we took the deen from our culture. So our family relationship was based upon what my father used to do, what my mother used to do, what they did in our village. Okay? But now, we can't throw away our culture. But Islam is like a filter. You take your culture and filter the water through it. What comes on the bottom, right, that's your Islamic way of life. So authentic sources, the usul, you have to go back to the usul. And that does not mean that you disrespect the imams of fiqh. You cannot disrespect the great imams of fiqh. You respect all of the ulama who have come before. But try to go back to the sources. And every person, man and woman, adult and young person, everybody should try to learn classical Arabic. Spend some time learning Fusha, classical Arabic language. Because the more you learn classical Arabic, is the closer you come to the sources. Right? Then, the more you know, it's like Allah is talking to you. It's like the Prophet ﷺ is talking to you. Because that's really important now, to go back, to be able to go back to the authentic sources. Number 3, to strive for wisdom and balance. Al-hikmah. Hikmah is so important because now we're suffering from extremes. Somebody gets a little knowledge and they're gone to an extreme. Then another one's on another extreme. Okay, but we need the balanced position. We need a balanced position. Okay, and not go to one end or the other. Ummatun wasata. Right? The balanced nation, middle nation. Extremely important concept. Wisdom. It's not really today how much knowledge you have, it's how you use it. It's not how much Quran you have memorized. How do you implement the Quran? That's what the Sahaba used to do. They used to learn verses and then implement it, practice. Then they go on to the next one. So balance and practice. Next, to focus on Islamic character. Right? As the basis. Character has to change. For a long time, we taught our children ibadat. Ibadah. And that's crucial in the madrasa. That's the usul. How do you pray? How do you make tahara? Right? But now, it's not just ibadat, it's mu'amalat. You got to have character. The Prophet ﷺ said, in the hadith reported in the Muwatta of Imam Malik, you've heard it in other riwayas. But in this one he said, I have been sent to complete the best in character. The essence of Islam is character. That's how Islam spread. Armies did not spread Islam. Technology did not spread it. It's interpersonal relationships and what develops out of these relationships. So character is very important today.